There's so much I want to talk to you guys about today because a lot has been happening in Britney's world. I mean, there's a lot happening in the world in general. We just had Halloween. There are wars going on. There is so much for me to process, but today I have only processed what's been going on with Britney Spears. And it seems like the police have processed her as well because there have been a few interactions she has had with the police, and people are starting to wonder if she is being targeted by them. We all know how important it is for Britney to be able to drive. She's expressed that in her documentaries and in her book that she feels free if she can get up and leave and go wherever she wants to, because she wasn't able to do that for so many years. But it seems like on October 6th, she was speeding off a little bit too fast. And the reason we know about this is because there's been body cam footage released of this interaction. It turns out this same officer pulled over Britney back in September, but we will get to that because Britney claims that she was driving over the speed limit because she really had to go pee. I totally understand what Britney is alluding to because I've definitely had my car moments before, and there's the whole trick where you go pee in a bottle, which unfortunately, TMI, embarrassingly enough, I've had a few bottle situations in my past. I actually wonder, can girls do that as well? I don't know. I mean, it's not a good look for sure, but it's also not a good look to be speeding. And even though Britney is in the middle of nowhere, there happens to be a cop there kind of waiting for her. And she explains to the officer, we're going to watch some of this body cam footage, that she just really had to go to the bathroom.
Sorry, I had a TT. My house is right there. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, pass on the double yellows. You can't do that.
I'm so sorry.
Do you have your license?
My security at my house has my passport and my driver's license.
Okay.
I just flew from Mexico.
Okay. We're pulling in and out.
There's a bathroom it's about to come out right now. I'm so sorry.
Okay, do you have any photo ID or anything with your name on it? I know who you are, but
yes, they have it at my house.
Okay, you really got to carry it. Is there a reason why you don't carry it with you?
No.
And then here you go. You're free to go. Just drive safely, okay?
I like how the officer said that he knows who she is, but it was a really simple, minor, traffic interaction. She supposedly went over the 2 yellow lines, and that's what ended up getting her a ticket. I do want to admit, though, that it was kind of refreshing to see that Britney was driving alone on her own accord. It doesn't seem like her security was following her because they weren't there on the scene because she didn't have her driver's license and registration. They had all that information, which is kind of scary that they have all that personal information and that she's driving around without a license. But there are so many people who don't even think that Britney's alive. I mean, there are so many conspiracy theorists who believe that she's been cloned, or it's not really her living her own life. But seeing her, drive around and get minor tickets, it kind of is relieving to me because it shows that she's a real person living a real life and just going about her day. And while some people may be concerned that she doesn't have her information with her, she also explains that she was on a trip and that they were holding it for her. And when you are a celebrity, life is different. But she's going to have to pay that $327 fine, which isn't much since she just signed a huge book deal and it did really well. So I'm sure she's getting some other, additional residuals on top of that. But one thing I did notice about this interaction is that she was clearly she didn't have her license and her information, but she also seemed a little unaware of her address and things like that. And people were confused on this. I mean, maybe she just really had to pee that she could not think. But I also understand getting tensed up whenever you see police officers, because even though I appreciate the force, I'm also a little bit scared of them. Now, this moment where she was unsure of her address happened back in September during her first traffic pullover. And you can hear that she's on the phone with someone else asking them this information to give it to the officer. But when she spoke to this person more recently, she gave a different address, and it seemed like she was a little bit more confident at where she was staying.
This is true. In the clip from September 10th, Britney Spears does not seem to know her own address.
Miss Spears, can I get your address?
Okay, so it's quiet because somebody is telling him the address now, but she just said, what's the address?
Is that considered Thousand Oaks? And then what's the zip code?
She doesn't know this either. What's even more baffling than Britney not knowing her address in that clip from September is that in October she was pulled over and she gave a whole different address in Westlake.
What's your address out here? Do you know your address out here?
It's blank because she's telling him, but notice that he's about to be confused because he knows that her address is in Thousand Oaks.
Okay. You sure? Are you sure that's what it is? Is that considered Thousand Oaks, or is it Newbury Park or Westlake? And do you know the zip code by any chance? Do you know the
You can tell the officer was really confused by that because he knows that she lives in Thousand Oaks. That's where her house is. And when she gives him a Westlake address, he's like, are you sure? I don't know if that could be like a lawyer's address or an address to like some kind of business manager.
So clearly the officer was stumbled on the address switch, and we really don't know whose address she was giving. But something to note was that back in September when she was pulled over, she also didn't have her license or her registration. So I don't know who her team is, but it seems like they're setting her up for failure. And these two traffic stops are eerily similar because she was pulled over for going 60 miles per hour in a 40, and that's pretty much the same thing that she was pulled over for in October, which again is just like minor offenses. I don't think that there's any issue with her driving or there's a reason why she's speeding. I've been to Malibu and like Thousand Oaks and that area, and there's just like a lot of land, a lot of empty roads. She probably just thought she can go a little bit faster, but you know, you shouldn't risk it. During this interaction in September, he does explain that he gave her a break last time that he pulled her over. So it seems like this road is a reoccurring problem, but it is refreshing to see that Britney doesn't operate in some snobby way. She is patient. She's like answering the questions. She's respectful. She's not like telling these people like, you know who I am. I'm Britney Spears. Like I can do whatever I want, which we've seen that before, especially in that one Reese Witherspoon arrest. I mean, she was chaotic, telling them that this is going to be headline news and do you know who I am? And it's just like that puts such a bad taste in my mouth because these celebrities are never above the law.
I'm so sorry.
You're speeding. Let me get your license, registration, insurance.
My license actually is with my security at home, and I don't have it with me right now at this moment. I'm so sorry, but it's like 10 minutes away.
You were going 60 and it's like a 45.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
Can I get your registration, insurance?
Excuse me?
Registration, insurance?
I don't know. All my information is at my house.
Okay. Do you have a valid license?
Yes, sir. I just flew in from overseas, so they have my security at my house.
I've stopped you before out here for speeding.
Excuse me?
I stopped you before out here for speeding.
Sorry.
I gave you a break last time.
One thing that's interesting about this ticket is that she did have to, well, she didn't have to appear in court, but she had to send someone to appear in court to show proof of registration and insurance and proof of her ID. And it actually was on the same date that her book was released. So thank God she didn't have to go and appear. She can go and send a lawyer on her behalf. But it's interesting how those dates align. Now, it is interesting how these body cam footage videos are being released. And it does make me question if Jamie Spears, her father, has a plan in court. Because even I believe this comes out tomorrow. So yesterday, there was a court hearing to see if the judge will approve Jamie's request to have Britney pay for his lawyer fees. So I think that they're trying to build a case against Britney, and maybe there's someone like an LAPD who's like working with the media to release these body cam footage just because it all is so convenient for Britney's father.
I don't know. I find this all really suspicious that this has surfaced now when there's an important court date tomorrow. Remember my last video about court where I told you that Robin Greenhill and Lou Taylor have been dodging depositions for months? I think that these got leaked by someone on that team. I think they're trying to make Britney Spears look bad the day before court. Because one of these clips is like a month and a half old and the other one is weeks old and it could have come out at any time, but why is it coming out the night before court? Feels to me like the leak is coming from inside the house.
There have been other moments where Britney has been pulled over for, minor traffic offenses, which knock on wood, but I don't think I've been pulled over in a long time. I think it was college and I was going literally 6 over. That cop was definitely not cool and I had to pay the ticket. But yeah, I never personally speed because I'm just already so scared driving in LA. I don't even want to risk it. There's no place I need to be sooner to, bypass these people who are frantically getting on the road. And I'm not saying Britney is that person because she's driving in the middle of nowhere, but really in LA, the driving is incredible. And by incredible, I mean incredibly dangerous. Anytime you go to the grocery store, you're risking your life in LA. But at this point, when Britney first started to be able to drive, she was still in her conservatorship. It was kind of towards the tail end of it, and she was super happy to get that ability again because she wasn't able to drive for over a decade. And I think she is still super grateful for her freedom and her ability to drive, so I hope that doesn't go anywhere. To be honest, I'm even surprised she wants to drive because, like I said, driving gives me anxiety, and she's had so many bad experiences behind the wheel where she's been targeted by paparazzi, and it makes me think of Princess Diana and how they killed her by trying to get a photo. I mean, can you imagine Britney trying to drive around nowadays with the paparazzi swarming her? It just doesn't make sense, and it's so incredibly scary.
Back off the drive, gentlemen. This won't happen if you just back off. Shut the man. You see what happened?
Can you imagine having all these people wanting to get a picture of you and then they're sticking their foot under the tire so they could try to get a check from you and claim that you injured them? I mean, it's just like a disturbing situation.